Any questions?
Yes, this is our
Any
dress rehearsal.
issues? Any other sites you want to talk about?
I lost track about which ones were free and which ones were not.
I think they're all free.
All of them are free. Some of them might have some additional services that you can buy, but all of them are free.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you, at the very beginning, if you even want, I don't know where everyone's at in their knowledge, but of giving a definition, some more general definitions of things, and it just, there's a lot of times where, you know, I think I caught up to what you were saying, but it seemed, you know, I think at the start, I'm trying to look, like, giving that.
Even like for that, what is that? I mean, what is it and where does it mean?
Yep.
And how does it work?
Sure. Well, it's basically a way to share content. And so when you go to one of these sites, you can, there's often blog this next to the content. And you click on that, and it has a little text box with a bunch of code in it. You just copy and paste that code into your blog or your website, and you need to know a little bit of HTML to do it, or you can just hand it off to your webmaster and they can do it. And then that content appears as a badge. That's why it's called a badge on your blog, and it's constantly updated content.
David, because you're plugged into the internet, can you go into a site and demonstrate?
Yep. Well, I'll show you YouTube.
Maybe it'd be helpful to just maybe talk in general about like the context of Web 2.0, because like I'm really familiar with this stuff because I really use it every day, but I don't know how many of us. It might be helpful just in general to talk about why this would be important to think about in our organizations and the projects that we're working on.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I think that there are a number of reasons to take a look at it. I think that David sort of said if you have to think of different ways to reach your audience. I think that a lot of these tools prevent a new opportunity to reach a new audience or a new opportunity to reach your same audience. A lot of people that I work have gone with some of these options because, as I said, there are ways to do things that are cheaper, that are easier than we had before, like the Flickr. It's just easier to maintain that information. I think a lot of these tools make it easier to provide more content. You know, I work with a lot of people, and the hardest part of their website is keeping that content fresh. And there are very few sites where that doesn't matter. And there are a couple of them out there. Electronic discharge machine doesn't matter so much, but for most of us, you know, we want to have that content be fresh. The other thing that I think is very important to all of some of the websites is getting found. I think that that's what people are finding with now. I get a lot of calls from people. They have websites that may or may not be good websites, but what hasn't been considered is, will this website get found by anyone? And some of these tools help you get found in a different way. I mean, in some ways that's a whole other discussion, but some of these tools will help you get found in a lot of different ways.
I preach to organizations all the time that you can't, in this day and age, you can't just be produce products or whatever. You have to produce content as well, because in this environment, it's the content that gets people's attention. So the first thing you need to do when you're communicating is get somebody's attention. And in this day and age, you got to provide content to do that. And so it's the premise of 2.0. A lot of it is sharing content. So get your content out there and put it in a form that people can use, grab, put on their blogs, share, and they're doing the work for you and getting your message out to your likely targeted audience. So at YouTube, here's the video. They've got the user up here, and I can subscribe to that user's videos and get them. There's the tags, and then there's a URL for the address, so you can use that to go directly to this video. And there's embed. And right in that box is the code that you copy and paste. Okay, so that you copy and paste that, and then you can paste it into your blog and show the video directly from your blog rather than having to go to YouTube. Okay, so that's an example of the sharing in a badge, basically.
In some ways, I think when somebody has that badge there, or that invites you to take that. I think that so long as video belongs to that person, that gives you the copyright permission to use that from that perspective. I've worked with some people, someone who's a very big blogger, who he'll willy-nilly use pictures of people, and the librarian in me goes, you can't. He says, you always ask permission. Yeah, I ask permission because I work for people who don't want to get sued. But I think this is a way where you are invited to actually share that information with people. And even just kind of going back to how many people have an email newsletter for your organization or send out emails on any kind of regular basis? I think what I have found with email newsletters that we do, I sent an email. Just about everybody I work with, I talk them into an email newsletter because I think it makes so much sense. It's one way, it's kind of the old school internet way, where you can push a message to other people. When you have a website, people have to come to it. People have to find you. Maybe they find you through a search engine. Maybe a friend told, but they have to find you. When you do an email, you're pushing that out to them. I often find once I send out an email newsletter, well, I get David's email, and I go, that's cool. I send it to 2 friends. They send it to 2 friends. They send it to 2 friends, and it kind of propagates. If you send out an email newsletter, I mean, the people who do, don't you notice a climb in your website traffic in the next 3 days? Without fail. When I send out an email newsletter, I'll know that more calls to book reservations, more of these sort of things. These are tools that allow you to do more of that where you're dropping the penny into the pond and the ripple effect.
Yeah, and your earlier question about how does your organization's information stand out from the infinite amount of information that everybody else is providing. A lot of these Web 2.0 tools, too, the core of them is search. Searching the website. So I go to YouTube. I'm going to search for something that I'm interested in. So that's where the keywords come into play. And so you got to tag your keywords, put your keywords, and think hard about what people will be searching for. And that's how you deliver that message. And it's a much more efficient way of getting your information out because you're getting people who are actually interested in the information you have.
So when you're tagging something, is it better to put a lot of tags on there? So that
put as many, don't put irrelevant ones.
To be more selective so that they are more applicable.
Don't put irrelevant ones on. Put in only tag words that are relevant to your content, but use as many as you need, as many as they let you use. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned. The titles of your content usually have a large bearing on how you'll get found. So you want to include keywords in your title too, and just think of the way that people search. We do search engine optimization, so this is our.
We could go on for their 18 hours about this, but.
Yeah. People search. You go to Google, you go to Yahoo or whatever, and you search for what you're looking for. My Minnesota Twins, right? I search for Google. I find a link that says Minnesota Twins. I click on that link and go to the website, and I don't see the words Minnesota Twins anywhere on the website that's prominent. It may be buried somewhere on the page, and that's why Google knows about it, but there's not a title that says Minnesota Twins. I don't see that. I don't think it's a relevant website. That's no good. So think about, how people use technology when you're putting to get your content together as well.
And I think with 70% of the websites out there, location matters. So add Minnesota, unless you truly are dealing with some kind of international audience. But I think Minnesota matters here. Yeah,
especially organizations. So if somebody's looking for an organization for your organization, they're probably not going to look. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to look for a national organization. They're looking for a local organization. So add your geographic qualifiers, and they're going to amend their searches. Minnesota childcare, Minnesota Twins.
Well, and I think that one of the things that we found in doing search engine optimization is just working on a website to make sure that you rank highly with Google on the terms that people are going to search to find you. And one of the things that Google tends to like, and I said Google, I'm sure, we mean all search engines,
yes, we
but
do.
we all aim for Google. We all aim for Google. If you can make it there, you're in good shape. One of the things they like is they like a website that changes content fairly often that has fresh content. So that's one of the things to take a look at. And one of the things that I've found is that when you can create a buzz about your website, when you can create a buzz about your organization, you just do better with Google. And these will kind of build a buzz about your organization. And that buzz could be through some of these tools. It could be by sending out a press release through the distribution services. There are
Bloggers talking about you.
Bloggers talking about you. I mean,
What
and
bloggers will do is link
increasingly-
to your organization's website, too, if they're going to talk about you. And that
Yep.
link, Google considers more important as well.
Google looks at the text that you use on your page. And I'll give our 5 minutes. The title tag, that blue bar up there, still the be-all end-all as far as Google's concerned. So
Put your keywords there.
put your
if you're
keywords
doing
there. I can guarantee somebody that I can improve their ranking on search engines if they've got terrible keywords, which they often homepage, index, or even just the name of their organization.
And why don't you put a website up?
Oh, we've got. That blue bar that's right up there, up above the address. And this is what when I'm on the phone with people. Not that one. Up higher. Look at the address. That blue bar. Oh, that's what you're talking about.
I doubt that you people are going to be you're going to be the webmasters in your organization, but you need to talk to the webmasters of your organization because you're going to be the communications people, and you need to talk to them.
Be aware of this. And you need to use the good keywords on that and throughout your page, and then pages that are all graphics, they don't do so well. Doesn't give anybody any text. Now, and that's why you've got all the rest of this meta information about this video, about this graphic, about whatever it is. The graphic doesn't necessarily do you any good as far as the search engine's concerned. It's these keywords right here.
Search engines eat text. They love text. They don't like graphics because it doesn't tell them anything about the information.
So Google looks at the keyword use on the page, popularity of your page, and right now popularity means how many people are linking to you. So that's
how many important people are linking to.
Yeah.
The link from my blog to your organization doesn't count as much as the link from the New York Times to your organization.
So that's, I was going to go off on a tangent, I'm not going to. So making use of some of these things, making sure that you're listed in some of the blog lines and the Technorati and some of those resources, those are going to be good links into your site.
Some practical things. Look at, we talked a lot about a concept and stuff, but, you're going to probably have to go in and do this stuff. So don't be scared. Just go in, create an account, read the help, read the facts on the site, and it tells you what to do. Just follow the instructions.
Yeah, it's to their advantage to make them easy. And the final thing that the search engines look at right now, and this changes, the freshness of content, like I already said, and this helps you keep that content fresh. As I said, the hardest thing is keeping the content fresh for most people. But if you can employ your armies of constituents or board members or whomever it might be to help you provide that. And I know I shouldn't use it as an example because I remember there was somebody in the room from Hecula, and I've done some work so there you go. Well, and that, I've done some work with Mary. I did a website assessment with Mary, and I said, get those kids blogging and doing some of it, because they know how to do it. They know how, there's no question. They know how to do it, and that's when I look at so many of these tools, as I said, I did a lot of travel when I was that age. I spent my semester abroad. I did a degree out overseas. I would have loved if these tools, because what we have now, because I'm so damn old, is the handwritten letters to my parents. Spain stinks. No friends. That's when I could have used the Twitter. I'm hungry, no friends, send money, love Ann. And that's where I think actually using some of that. Because that's the demographic that's using these tools right now. It really is. But I think getting some of the, and it was it a year ago that I was working with Mary? You had a couple people who had done blogs while they were on their trips. I was about to explain, heck, what you guys are all in class. I don't know. They were on their trips, and I said that is giving a voice. If I'm looking for, and I have, when I was looking for a way to get the heck out of Minnesota when I was in college, Gopher was around, but I was talking to other people. I didn't necessarily want to hear what organization ABC had to say. I wanted to find somebody who had used ABC and say, what'd you think? Did it work? Did it not work? And I think that it makes a lot of sense. This is the only time, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I know there was somebody who had maybe not a great experience while they were doing their trip. I said, post it because that's real life and what's real life. And I'd done enough travel to say, rarely do you enjoy the first 3 weeks. That's when you're writing this was the worst mistake. And then you help a kid, or some guy asks you out, or you have a really good meal, and it's funny. All of a sudden, it's great. But you do come to understand it, and I think that's one of the things too that we haven't really touched on is when you open up the doors to letting people help you provide content, you open up the doors, good, bad, and ugly. Most of these have tools where you can approve or you can provide different administrative powers to people. Even with the blogs with the comments, I can approve or disapprove these sort of things. So if somebody writes something that isn't appropriate, and the only things that I run into that aren't appropriate are just flat out spam. Flat out, I sell maple syrup. Here's my website. Delete.
I like maple syrup, but not on my blog.
Well, so that's some of the,
And the inclination, too, is to control and not let people participate because you got to control your message. But you know what? You can't control your message anymore. So you got to learn how to engage in the conversation and deal with the message. I mean, people have an avenue to say negative things. If they want to say negative things, they're going to say.
And they're going to say that. I think there's a book, and it's really dated now, the Clue Train Manifesto.
Yep.
I think it still maintains, and it was, what was it, 95? Maybe. It was written in 1995. So they weren't talking about blogs. They were talking about chat rooms. They were talking about email lists. The discussion email lists and some of these things, but they had some excellent examples of trying to think of the one. There was an airlines, and they something that they did. They started doing a regular commuter flight, but they did it at the wrong time. You took off at 8:30 in the morning or something, and somebody online had said, "Why? I'm not arriving until 9:30 then." And someone said, "Well, good point." Well, 3 weeks later, they're taking off at 7:30. I mean, I think that, so if you can be receptive and able to hear some of these things, I think it makes a lot of sense. And
oftentimes when you get the instances of people complaining about a company or, saying negative things on their blog or whatever, the story might have been a little story about how somebody was saying bad things about company X or organization X, but depending on how you deal with it, the story can turn into organization X is clamping down freedom of speech, blah, blah, blah. So it turns into a story about you rather than. So it really depends on how you deal with it. And I think the best way to deal with it is engage, is to get in the conversation and address whatever's being, context appropriate, but.
I was just about to talk about that because we had this question when I was Google Answer Girl. Some poor kid said there are a lot of websites out there, and the example that I can't remember what his story is, but the example that I always use, and I used to teach at St. Kate's, is that, and everybody is pretty much beyond where he thought it was a really good idea to be the champion of legalizing marijuana. Legalizing marijuana. He was the champion at his school, wherever his school may have been. So when a future employer, all of a sudden he's going out on interviews, somebody does a search for him, that's all they're finding. Is his campaign to legalize marijuana. Or, and I think about it now, this is 10 years ago, I think about it now, and the camera phones and the vacations and what you may do at age 18. There's, can I talk to Google? Will they take? No way. Are they taking?
But what if somebody else puts you on without
there are, it depends on the situation, but defamation laws do apply, if you're defamed regardless of the medium. So, those laws apply. It's,
But you can't request that it be taken off.
Well, you can request, and the most powerful request is with a lawsuit, that takes, usually if somebody does that, and you say, send them an email and say, hey, that's defamation. Take it down. If they don't, then, you can start the legal process, or you can threaten to start the legal process.
and it depends on the, YouTube has, they have I forget what the name of it, but the ask and we'll remove policy is essentially what they do. You tell us that you want it removed, and we'll remove it. Like the Senate, whatever it is.
On these sites like YouTube or Flickr or whatever that are owned by a company, they're going to be much more receptive to your complaints than somebody who owns a blog.
Yep.
It's their blog, and what can you do? You don't have.
I had a friend who had to deal with that, and he's very, very, very active online, and someone got really mad at him, and they just started posting really horrendous and erroneous information about him, to the point of his wife was getting phone calls all day long. How could you marry the blah, 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 blah. And he owns an internet service provider, and he's like, well, looks like we're just going to have to ride it out. I mean, they're just... He has a job. He can't pursue having all of these people take it down. And he's very active. These people had a network that was very active, and that's before some of these tools. I mean,
it's also you do research on the who's posting. If somebody who has 3 people reading their blog,
there is
maybe
some of that.
Maybe it doesn't matter.
But the one I think.
But you can also, I mean, we do reputation management for people who get in trouble, and they have their names come up in the search engines. And so, we do search engine optimization to push bad stuff down. It doesn't go away, but get it off the front page.
And that's what you can do. I mean, that's what you do, is you just put enough information that it goes from being the first or second thing that people see to being the 48th.
Or,
and then,
at the very least, I mean, if you get your side of the story out there.
Well, yeah. Depending on the case.
Yep.
I am no longer for legalizing marijuana. Might not be so beneficial. I mean, what you want to do is start posting things about your awards and how you.
Thinking situations like, for example, the Junior players. Okay, so they were in the news a lot, so their names are really out there. And even
there's no department to go back and get your reputation back.
I mean, how do they begin to correct everything that's been said?
That's a different animal entirely, because that's television. I mean, that's a national audience that was following that, and that's not my department.
Anyone, say it's the average person in the Twin Cities where that happens, and they're not found guilty.
No, you need a good PR department.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down. I mean, there may be legal recourses, but can you take it on? Can you take it on? I mean, I think that's it. That's a huge part of a lot of what's it. And how can you track it? And can you? But asking Google to remove it, they're not gonna. Asking the site owner, it depends. Even if the site owner removes it, there's archive.org. You can see what most sites look like 10 years ago. I mean, so you just gotta, keep the news fresh. Well, on that chipper note.
Thank you. Thank you.
This was fun. Thank you.
Thank you.